BA Honours Psychological Research PSY 05. Dear friends, very good morning to all of you. Today we will discuss a very important topic of research methodology, and that is research hypothesis. Actually, when you start a research, from where you will start? There must be a problem about which you are studying. Then what is the direction? The direction, the tentative solution is the hypothesis. After hypothesis, we have the design. Then we decide about the tools, techniques, which tools we will use for the data collection, whether it will be experimentation, observation, interview, case study, questionnaire, psychological test, etc. Then we conduct the research and data is collected and data is analyzed. On the basis of analysis of the data, we can come to a conclusion that whatever the problem which we have taken was proved or not. Now, in this context, hypothesis become a very crucial and important topic of the psychological research. So, today we will talk about what is hypothesis, what are the characteristics of a good hypothesis, what are the types of hypothesis, how hypothesis can be stated, how we can form the hypothesis. So, let us start research hypothesis. Scientific investigation starts with the statement of a solvable problem. Following this, a tentative solution. That problem is offered in the form of a proposition. The proposition must be testable. It must be possible to determine whether it is provably true or false. The proposed or tentative answer of the problem is called hypothesis. Thus, a hypothesis is a testable proposition that may be the solution of a problem. To enlarge on this definition of a hypothesis, briefly consider the relationship between the problem and the hypothesis. Now, what we have read, now we will try to explain it, understand it. You have taken a problem that you want to study the relation between x and the y. What is the relationship between the emotional intelligence and the work output? Now, this is my problem. Then how emotional intelligence will affect the output of the employees in an organization. Now, this is a problem, we have to solve it, we have to study it. Now, hypothesis is the tentative proposed answer of the problem. Now, before starting, we will assume a direction, well, it may be the answer. What? The person who are more emotionally intelligent will do better in the organization, will give better results, will give better output in an organization. The persons with low emotional intelligence, their performance will not be up to the mark. Now, this is I have not done the research, listen it carefully, mind it, we have not done anything, we have just proposed, we have proposition supposed. Now, we will conduct the research. Now, if the data proves that, well, the persons who are emotionally intelligent, their output was better, we will say the hypothesis is proved. And if the data says that those emotionally intelligent people, they didn't perform well, we will say the hypothesis is rejected. So, hypothesis is nothing, it is a proposed answer of a problem, and it must be testable, it must be solvable. The thing I will tell you in the later part, synthetic, analytic and contradictory, the proposition which cannot be tested is not solvable, there is no use of to study it, because it will just be mockery on the basis of the research. So, a hypothesis is a proposed answer of the problem. Now, first of all, let us see. First, if it is found after suitable experimentation that the relevant hypothesis is probably true, then we may say that hypothesis solves the problem to which it is addressed. relevant hypothesis is probably false, we may say that it does not solve the problem. As I have just explained to you, relation between the problem and the hypothesis. If the hypothesis is proved, that means the problem is solvable. We have right answer to the problem. Now, if the problem is hypothesis is rejected, that means that we have no answer to that problem. Now, we say the noise disturbs the concentration. Problem, relationship between noise and the concentration. Now, my hypothesis, if there is a more noise, concentration will be poor. Now, we will do the research, we will collect the data on a sample. Now, if it is proved, then we will say we have got the answer, yes. If there is a noise, this concentration is disturbed. But if it is not proved, then we can't say that the noise is disturbing or have any effect, negative effect on the concentration. To illustrate it, let us consider the problem good chess player. Now, who is good chess player? Hypothesis might be that people who are intelligent and who show a strong interest in chess make good chess player. Collection and interpretation of sufficient data might confirm the hypothesis. In this case, we can say that we have solved the problem because we can answer the question. Now, suppose I want to study that who are good chess players. That means, what are the qualities of a good chess player? This is my problem. This is my problem. Now, I have made a hypothesis that people who are intelligent, who have more IQ and who have a strong interest in the chess, they will be good players. Now, I will correct the data. If the people who have high IQ and those who have keen interest in the deep interest in the chess, and they become good chess player, then I will say I have got the answer of my problem. Well, the persons who are intelligent and who are interested in the game, they are doing better, they are good players. And if it is not so, then my problem, I have not got the answer of the problem. So, it is the answer, proposed answer of your problem. On the other hand, let us say we fail to confirm our hypothesis. Even it should be apparent that we have not solved the problem, that is, we have failed to obtain the definite information that these specific quality make a good chess player. Now, if it is not proved, that means intelligence and interest are not related with the chess. It is not essential that such persons may be a good player. Now, one thing I want to tell you, make it clear, in the mind of a researcher, it has been some way or the other, one way or the other, has been confirmed, or he is occupied, he has made an assumption that in the research my hypothesis should be proved, it should be accepted. If my hypothesis is rejected, then perhaps my research will not be of a good quality, it will not be a proper research. It is a false assumption. Proving hypothesis is as important as rejecting the hypothesis. Even if the hypothesis is rejected, the proposed answer is not proved, it has the same value if it is proved. Now, I say the person's noise, increased noise, concentration. If increased noise is not disturbing the concentration, then my hypothesis is rejected. Then I will try to study that what is the reason that despite the noise, the concentration is not disturbed. So, make it point that accepting or rejecting the hypothesis is equally important. We shouldn't make a concept in the mind that it should always be proved. Now, what are the criteria of a good hypothesis? We will make the hypothesis. Now, what should be the criteria we say of a good hypothesis? Let us start one by one. Number one, after the formation of hypothesis, one must determine whether or not hypothesis is good one. If hypothesis is not proper, then the whole research will be, we will not get the proper results, the whole research will be just wastage of time. The following criteria make a good hypothesis. Number one, hypothesis must be testable. The hypothesis that is presently testable is superior to a hypothesis that is only potentially testable. Hypothesis should be in general harmony with the other hypotheses in the field of investigation. Why is this not essential? In general, the less harmonious hypothesis has a lower degree of probability. Now, a hypothesis must be testable. A hypothesis which is not testable, there is no use of doing any work. Suppose we say that now in the present time the values are deteriorating. The values are deteriorating. Now, if I study, well, the family environment is affecting the values. The school environment is helping or is a problem in developing the value. The work culture is important in developing the values. Now, if I say if the family environment is rich, there will be more values, good values will be inculcated in the child. It is testable. It can be tested. If the school environment is proper, the child will be able to learn the values. It can be tested. If the work culture is proper, we have a democratic setup, there is a cooperative setup, then the values may be accelerated, the values may be developed. It is testable. Now, if I say, suppose if a God comes from heaven, then all the values will become better. Those who have no values will have the values. Now, when the God will come from heaven, we don't know. We have formed the hypothesis, but this hypothesis cannot be tested because we don't know when the God will come from the heaven and whom we will call the God. Then it is a problematic. Such hypothesis is not testable, so it should not be formed. First criteria, a hypothesis must be testable. For example, I am giving another example. For example, a medical doctor advanced the hypothesis that eye color is related to certain personality characteristics. Hypothesis is at an immediate disadvantage because it conflicts with the existing body of knowledge. We know that, for instance, that hair color has never been demonstrated to be related to the personality traits. There is a considerable additional knowledge of this sort which taken together would suggest that eye color hypothesis is not true. It is not in harmony with what we already know. Now, in the very first point, when I said that hypothesis should be testable, the second point is that as far as possible, the hypothesis should be in harmony. Harmony means just in parallel to the same similarity with the hypothesis of other types in that area. Harmony means coordination one to one. Now, no research has proved that hair color, brown hair, white hair, gray color, nowadays there is a fashion, we have the red color, green colors, whatever we have, it is not found to be related with any personality characteristics. Now, I want to study what is the effect of color of eyes with the personality. Color of eyes with the personality trait, brown eyes, blue eyes, black eyes, what type of color of the eyes, etc., etc. I am talking about natural color. Now, we have the lenses of the different colors. We might have seen the movies. I am not talking about that. Now, if we have found that hair color has no relation with the personality characteristics, then how eye color will be related with the personality characteristics? Now, if you test it, it will take 1 to 3 months. You will collect the data, you will prepare the tools, then you will analyze, and the results will be nil, zero, because this is not in harmony with the problems earlier study with the similar type of the nature. So, it must be testable, number one. Number two, it must be with the harmony with the hypothesis or the problem in the field. But it doesn't mean that you don't do a novel work. Even if you do the novelty new work where there is no work has been done, then you will ask a question to me, sir, then how we can find harmony with other hypotheses? We don't have any hypothesis with us. In such case, you can form the hypothesis, there is no problem, you can study whether we get the result or not, even if it is not, it is a contribution to the knowledge of the research, knowledge of the science. But as far as possible, if other researches have come and proved something, so don't make hypothesis which is just contradictory or related, because it is not harmonious with the other problems. Then another next characteristics, hypothesis should be parsimonious. If two hypotheses are advanced, a given problem, more parsimonious one is to be preferred. For example, if we have evidence that a person has correctly guessed the symbols, hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades on a number of cards is significantly more often than chance, we might advance several hypotheses to account for this phenomenon. One might be to extra sensory perception, ESP we call it in brief, and other to say the subject peaked in some manner. Clearly the later would be more parsimonious. Parsimonious means less expensive, economy. Now we shouldn't form such hypothesis which is more costly, where you need more instruments, more advancement. Try, because everywhere we see the economy, not economy of the time, even economy of the money, even economy of the time, economy of the effort. So hypothesis should be that which is more parsimonious, less expensive. Then next characteristics, hypothesis should answer to the problem, be relevant. Hypothesis should be such which must answer the problem, it should be relevant. It should not be irrelevant. Now suppose if I say that if there will be change in the environment, I may say physical environment, political environment, economic environment, social environment. Suppose I say if there is a change in the social environment, it will affect the characteristics of the person, it will affect the value system of the growing children if there is a change in the social environment. Now this is my problem. Now I make the hypothesis, social or economic change of environment will hamper or will affect the value system of the growing children. Now in my problem there is no economic environment, the only is social environment. So if I add economic in my hypothesis, it will not be relevant. So hypothesis should be answer the problem, whatever the variables you have taken in your problem, they should be answered. You should make a proposition, tentative solution, answer of the variables which you have taken in the problem. Now next, hypothesis made should have logical simplicity. It means logical unity with comprehensiveness, not care of the comprehension. Thus if one hypothesis can account for a problem by itself, and another hypothesis can also account for the problem but requires a number of supporting hypotheses or ad hoc assumptions, the former is to be preferred because of its greater logical simplicity. Hypothesis should be in quantified form or be susceptible to convenient quantification. The hypothesis that is more highly quantified is to be preferred. Now I have talked about two characteristics. Number one, the hypothesis which you are formed should have logical simplicity. Logical simplicity doesn't mean the language, the words, the comprehension. Here means that there should be no need for the ad hoc additional hypothesis to prove the main hypothesis. The hypothesis should be such where simply whatever the logic you have used, whatever the relationship between the variable you have taken, that must be clearly operationally defined, and it must be clearly in the hypothesis. If this, then this. If this, if A, then B. Not if A, then B, provided if X, then B, if Y, then B, if C, then B, if D, Z, then B. Now such supporting assumptions will make it complicated. It should have the logical simplicity. Then as far as possible, the hypothesis should be in the quantified form. You have seen it, qualitative research, quantitative research. When we talk about the quality, we simply mean the characteristics, lengthy, heavy, lighter, less, more. It is qualitative. Quantitative means number. As far as possible, the hypothesis must be quantifiable, because if you have the quantified number, your research is quantitative, then you can analyze the data, and data will prove whether my hypothesis is rejected or accepted. So, as far as possible, try to make it quantifiable. Hypothesis should have large number of consequences, that it should be general in scope. The hypothesis that yields a large number of deductions and consequences will explain more facts that are already established and will make more predictions about events that are as yet unestablished. In general, it may be said that hypothesis that leads to large number of deductions will be more fruitful hypothesis. Now, if you have such hypothesis which is giving more results, more general results, not only one, it should be, that will be preferred, because if by that hypothesis I am getting verified more results, then it will be welcomed, because it will enhance my knowledge. Now, I am coming to a very important point. You must listen it carefully and should try to understand. We said that a hypothesis should be testable. A hypothesis should be testable. Now, there are three types of the statements: analytic, contradictory and synthetic statement. Three types of the statements. To understand the nature of hypothesis, it is important to understand different type of statements. Possible statements fall in one of the three categories: analytic, contradictory, synthetic. These three kinds of statements differ on the basis of their possible truth value. Truth value means whether a statement is true or false. It can be explained by an example. Now, these three statements, analytic, contradictory, synthetic, they are based on the truth value of the statement, whether truth value is high, truth value is low, 100% or 0%. Now, I will explain with a example. Now, the first I have given the title, you read the title of the table, type of statement, then analytic, then category analytic, synthetic and contradictory. Now, symbolic statement, A or not A and not A. Yani A or not A, that means either it will be A or it will not be A. Now, try to understand with example. Suppose you are traveling. And a station come, you are at a particular place. Now, I say where you are. You say I am in Delhi or I am not in Delhi. I am in Delhi or I am not in Delhi. That means if you are in Delhi, you are correct. If you are not in Delhi, you are in some other place, even then you are correct. No chances of any rejection. This statement is 100% true. You asked me, sir, whether you are elder than your brother or younger. I say, I am elder than my brother, or I am not elder than my brother. That means if I am not, I am younger. If I am younger, then I am true. If I am elder, then I am true. Such statement will have 100% truth value, absolutely true. Such statement is called analytic. Now, come to the contradictory, then I will explain synthetic, contradictory. A and not A and not or and. So, if ask you that in which place you are, you say I am in Delhi and I am not in Delhi. It is possible. If or is possible, possibility, probability. Now, you are in Delhi and you are not in Delhi, it is just not possible, it is 100% false. So, truth value is 0, it is 100% false. I say, I am younger than my brother and I am not younger, how it is possible? Either I am younger or I am elder. So, if or 100% true, if and A and, then it is 100% false. Now, come to the synthetic. Now, I say I am in Delhi. If I am in Delhi, you confirm whether I am in Delhi or not. If I am Delhi, I am correct, I am true, I say yes. If I am not in Delhi, it is false. Now, you ask my wife, you ask my mother, you ask my son, sir is elder or younger. Now, I say I am elder than my brother. Now, you go to my family, collect the data. If they say sir is elder, it is correct. If they say sir is younger, then it is not correct. That means the possibility to be proved is 50-50. 50% I may be right, 50% I may be wrong. So, truth value probability is 50%. Now, since we are on an online class, if it would have been offline, I would have asked a question. Now, tell me whether there is any use to test a analytic statement which is 100% true. What you will do to test it? No use. Which is 100% false, there is a no use to test it. Which statement you will test? 50-50. Now, who will win World Cup? We say India will win World Cup. If India wins World Cup, I am true. If we lose, I am false. Now, India will win Cup, will be the winner of the World Cup, or will not be. It is possible. India will be winner and India will not be winner. It is contradictory. So, a hypothesis should always be synthetic statement. So, in synthetic statement is a testable statement. So, we have seen that analytic, contradictory, synthetic. A hypothesis should be a synthetic type of the statement. Now, we will talk about types of hypothesis. The first type hypothesis is universal hypothesis. This hypothesis asserts that the relationship in question holds for all the variables that are specified, for example, for all the times, all the places. An example of universal hypothesis would be for all the rats, if they are rewarded for turning left, then they will take the turn, they will turn left. Universal means it will be applicable to all the times at all the places. You are a student of psychology. We have a T maze. One box, T means English T, wooden way. Now, right box, left box. Now, I want to see that if I put the food in the right box, then will the rats will go to the right side or the left side? Reward is the food. Now, hypothesis is that all the rats throughout the time, all the times will divert to the right hand side because there is a food. Now, it is a universal hypothesis, clear, where we say that applicable to all the times. Then we have the existential hypothesis. This hypothesis asserts that relationship stated in the hypothesis holds for at least one particular case, existential implied to the existent exists. For example, there will be at least one rat that is rewarded for turning the left, then he will turn to the T maze on the left hand side. Now, if I put the food on the left hand side or the right hand side, now I have taken 5 rats. Now, this hypothesis will say that there will be at least one rat, not all, one rat that will move toward the box where the reward is there. If we are assuming all, I say when I teach you, I am teaching you, all the students will be able to understand my lecture. It is universal. It is universal. All the times, all. Now, I say at least there will be one student who will able to understand whatever I am teaching. It is existential because I am talking of only one case. Now, comes the other hypothesis which is very important, and that is a null hypothesis. Now, hypothesis may be of the two types, directional or the null hypothesis. Directional means where you are giving the direction, and null words means zero, equal, no difference. For example, I want to make a comparative study, difference between the IQ of the male and the female, gender, whether the girls are more intelligent or the boys are more intelligent. I make the hypothesis that girls are more intelligent than the boys. Now, it is a directional. because I have assumed the direction that the girls are more intelligent. Clear? Now, what is the problem with this hypothesis? Who has made the hypothesis? The researcher. The ego of the researcher is now involved. Now, to measure the intelligence, I will have to give a test. Now, I say this test must be completed in 3 minutes. The boys have taken 3.5 seconds, 10 seconds. I say no, it is 3 minutes, you are failed. Now, if a girl is taking 3 minutes 5 seconds, I say how does it matter 5 seconds? Because it is already in my mind that they are better. So, if you make the directional, the biases of the researcher may emerge. So, that is why we have the null hypothesis, where we assume that there is no difference between the boys and the girls in intelligence. They are equal, difference is 0. Let the data prove. Let the data prove. If my data is proved that the boys scored high statistically than the girls, I will say the boys are intelligent. If my data says girls have scored more, then I will say statistically, then I will say the girls are more intelligent. My null hypothesis is rejected. I made the assumption that they are equal, whereas one group has been found superior than the other. Null hypothesis is rejected. And if I found that, well, no significant difference is found, then null hypothesis is rejected. It is the same. No one is criminal till the crime is proved. Till the crime is proved, you are convict, not criminal. Till statistically it has been proved that one group is superior, then I will only assume, otherwise I will assume that there is no difference. It is called null hypothesis. So, in research, as far as possible, we should go for the null hypothesis. Then, how manner of stating hypothesis, how you will write the hypothesis. Hypothesis is a statement of a potential empirical relationship between the two or more variables, and also that it is possible to determine whether the hypothesis is provably true or false. Then a question arises, how we should state the hypothesis, how should you write. Lord Russell answers this question by proposing that the logical form of the general implication be used for expressing hypothesis. Using the English language, the general implication may be expressed as if then. If then, that is to say, if certain conditions hold, then certain other conditions also hold. If there is noise, there will be loss of concentration. If the teacher is effective, then students will be able to understand. Problem, teaching method and understanding of the student. Now, hypothesis, if the teacher teaches well, his method is proper, then the students will be able to get good marks, then the students will be able to understand. So, Lord Russell has suggested that hypothesis should be written in this form if and then, but it is up to you how you form the hypothesis. So, today's lecture, we talked about hypothesis. What is hypothesis? What are the characteristics of a good hypothesis? Then we have taken that analytic, synthetic and the contradictory, it must be synthetic. Then I have talked about the types of hypothesis: existential, universal, directional and the null, and lastly I have stated how to state the research hypothesis. So, this was about research hypothesis. Thank you very much.